Ladies and gentlemen, what's good, y'all? It's the Chillmeister J. Christian Gary. It's Yukiko Azure Blue, and it's Taylor Clubber Lang. And you're tuned in to another edition of Focus Fights Audio. Or if you're just looking at it through either the YouTube channel of Focus Fights or just my personal YouTube channel, you're basically just looking at this through the lens of three very excited human beings who were just in awe of two MMA promotions officially coming together. And yeah, we'll talk about what happened with RIZIN Landmark 15 in a matter of moments, especially considering the fact that it all ended with, an unlikely knockout from a dude who definitely needed a knockout. But we got to talk about Super RIZIN 5. And yeah, that event is coming up on September 10th, which unfortunately, if you're an American, you're basically realizing, why would RIZIN put an event on the anniversary or the near anniversary of one of the most tragic days in American history? Well, for one, because it's in Japan. They can do whatever the hell they please. But secondly, and most importantly, if you weren't up, I think a couple of mornings ago actually, to see Super RIZIN 5 be formulatedly, you know, put together, chances are you basically missed out on a lot of things happening. I mean, let me go ahead and explain to you right now that there's 8 fights on this damn card. Well, one fight already been announced. That's Reina Kubota versus Natasha Kuziatina. But 7 fights on this card. And before I get to the two of y'all on this panel, let's go ahead and talk about them ad nauseum right now. You got a kickboxer versus a judoka. Daichi Tomizawa versus Rio Don't Mind Kawabata. He is a world-class judoka who hadn't won a title in 15 years, but has a massive social media following. That's in the first fight. That's probably going to be what a lot of fans will tune in for, curiosity-wise. The other 6 fights are badass. Vugar Karamov versus Ryo Takagi. Yutaka Saito, the first RIZIN featherweight world champion, versus Ren Sugiyama, a.k.a. Yaman, for the uninhibited. Those 2 fights will decide the second order at featherweight, as well as Ren Hiramoto versus Karshiga Doubtbeck, which will also be at 146 pounds or 67 kilos. Then you got Roberto Satoshi de Souza taking on Shunta Nomura for the lightweight. Well, it would have been for the RIZIN lightweight title. Unfortunately, Roberto lost his title to Ilkham Nazimov. Ilkham lost his title to Luis Gustavo. And so you got a whole domino effect going on in the lightweight division. And Roberto is looking to get his groove back. Or Nomura, the deep world champion, is basically looking to cause even more chaos. But then, you got probably one of the biggest fights that mixed martial arts can even come up with. And it's just so incredible that all these, I wouldn't say sheep, I'd just basically say all these casual fans are just coming out the fucking woodwork. And yes, I know 4 minutes in, I'm already saying a swear word. Ooh, look at the algorithm go down. Who cares? But still, though, point of the matter is, you got Rajabali Shadilayev, the steamroller, 18-0, all finishes. Undefeated in RIZIN Fighting Federation competition at 7-0. Defending his RIZIN Featherweight Championship of the world. Standing across the ring from him will be former Bellator homegrown competitor, former Bellator $1 Million Grand Prix winner, and former Bellator featherweight champion of the world from the LBC, Long Beach, California, USA, the mercenary AJ McKee Jr., 25-2 overall. And considering the fact that he is the top featherweight in the Professional Fighters League, and that belt is currently without a holder. You're going to have two belts on the line coming up on September 10th. You're going to have a RIZIN title defense for Shadow. Yes, you will. But now this fight will also be for the vacant and probably inaugural, because they haven't really done so much outside of tournaments. But yeah, the vacant PFL Featherweight Championship of the world. Now, I don't know how the rules are going to be for this fight because, of course, RIZIN's only done one 5-minute round fight before, and that was Mikuru Asakura versus Ren Hiramoto, which, oh, by the way, Mikuru Asakura, he's also going to be facing off against Shinya Aoki. Toby Judon, the king of the leg locks, whatever you want to call him. He's finally gotten out of purgatory and is coming back to RIZIN for the first time since their first show all the way back in December of 2015. But still, though, Shadalayev versus McKee for 20 pounds of gold, 10 on each shoulder. Azure, Taylor, let's talk about it. What does this fight mean? What does this entire card mean now that you got two fighters from two different promotions, and it's really ambitious for the PFL to do something like this, putting their title on the line in another promotion, in another format entirely. What does this mean for potential interpromotional business in the future, not just in the PFL, not just in RIZIN, for 2026 and beyond? Azure, you go first, then Taylor.
Well, you can see already on Twitter that they're saying, what about this fight and this fight? And then this fight can happen. And they're already talking about that, right? So once we see this fight happen, and the thing is, though, a lot of the promotions are not this cool because, right, Inoue fought on PFL, right? So that was cool. And that's not usually done. UFC, other promotions, they wouldn't do such a thing, right? So the fact that they're setting a precedence like this and already suggestions and excitement going on about this fight could happen, this PFL guy and this guy, and it's just changing a lot. And if you look, and I'm sure your feed too, Taylor, as well, this is all you see in your feed, okay? It's another shot of this fight for this card, right? And that's all you see is so much excitement from so many different kinds of people and so much potential and possibility in a positive.
Yeah, but the thing is, Azure, is the fact that when it comes down to this, yeah, the UFC, we all know they don't do crossover events. They barely mention other brands.
Right.
But still, though, when you got two entirely different promotions who couldn't be any more further apart as far as how they structure themselves, looking to do events, looking to do not just events, but a fight of this caliber, it's got to be some type of crazy because, Bellator never done this. I don't even think the WSOF before then ever done this, but, the PFL, yeah, I got to basically have to mend my bridge with them because they kicked me off their media core. That's neither here nor there. But still, though, when it comes down to the PFL, I guess John Martin really is fine-tuning a lot of things over there.
It's pretty damn epic, right? It's pretty rare in MMA that you have two champions from two different promotions fighting each other with both belts on the line. So I think it's brilliant marketing. It's going to bring fans from both the West and Japan. They're going to tune in. It's going to increase the profile of RIZIN around the world. And the fight itself is amazing. One of the best fights in that weight class. AJ McKee is a killer. It's just amazing. I was excited when I saw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the fact that this could potentially change a lot of things when it comes down to not just RIZIN and the PFL, but the entire MMA landscape in general. Because if you look at 2027 now, yeah, you got the European promotions. Yeah, you got the PFL working operations domestically and in Africa and in Europe, but you also got Scott Coker's new promotion without a name yet. You also got a bunch of other factors going into it, and unfortunately, you even got a notorious free agent looking to basically think about where his next career path may lie after, you know, basically milking the UFC dry. And you know who I'm talking about. But still, though, point is, with this fight, and there were a lot of call outs as of late, especially when it came down to this particular fight and the impact it might bring. I mean, you even got Danny Sabatello basically getting called out by somebody by the name of Mitch McKee, who was a top featherweight contender or top bantamweight contender in the PFL. So, seeds are brewing, right?
Right. Like there's a lot of fantasy matchups that never could take place. There's a lot of fighters in the West that they've never been allowed to fight in Japan. And now this might be their opening. So it's like a video game, you know? We can do all these fantasy matchups and see who will actually win in real life.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, to be honest, it's crazy that a lot of people are going to automatically say, oh, there's no way I can watch this. There's no way that this can be put over because, you know, the PFL does a really piss poor job of promoting a fight card. I mean, I think the last thing well, actually, no, they had an event in Austin, Texas over the weekend at the Moody Center on the campus of the University of Texas at Austin. And I don't even think I've seen any like commercials for it on television. All of what I seen from the promotional side of it was on social media. But considering this is a RIZIN event, the event's not going to be shown on ESPN Plus or Hulu. The event's not going to be shown on DAZN. It's going to be shown directly on RIZIN.tv. And that kind of makes me think, do you think that the promotion for this fight will be any different if, let's just say, if it was under the PFL standards? I mean, Yukiko, anything you'd like to say about that?
I don't know, because I don't, like, for me, I do a lot of illegal streaming for a lot of promotions, but with RIZIN, I watch RIZIN TV, but I like have a streaming app that I watch a lot of the PFL and stuff, so I don't pay for everything.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But for the RIZIN, I have no problem, okay? I have no problem because for me, even if I only watch one fight per month, it's worth it for the $16.99, right? And even though every time I swear, oh, I might fall asleep, right? I might fall asleep. I better purchase it in case I never fall asleep. I don't care what it takes. I stay up for the whole thing. So I just think RIZIN is smart, but obviously they're a niche market. Not everybody's going to stay up all night. Nobody is going to want to go on that platform. But I think from what I see in the people that I know that may not watch RIZIN all the time, I get a lot of attention from things I put on RIZIN. There's a lot of RIZIN lovers. I think it's going to increase that. And then people that watch the PFL or other UFC, etc., they're going to want to watch it too because it's a big deal. So I think it's smart. And then RIZIN, of course, I'm Japanese. I'm going to be biased, right? They just do things in a very classy way. So it's just done right. It's celebrating the fighters. Everything's very festive. So it's setting a precedence for how they do it versus some of these other kind of, questionable presentations of the fights.
Oh, yeah, of course. But still, though, when it comes down to this particular happening, I mean, I guess now it would basically be assured that regardless of if they add more fights to this Super RIZIN 5 card, I mean, you would basically say that these 8 are going to be your main card. They're basically going to be the fights that you are definitely going to want to watch, especially considering, the last 2 fights I mentioned. You're going to have Shadalayev versus McKee for the international viewers, but you're going to have Shinya Aoki versus Mikuru Asakura for the Japanese viewers, especially considering that Aoki hasn't fought in RIZIN in over a decade.
Let's go, Baka Survivor.
Yes, yes.
Always loved Aoki my whole life. I actually based my jujitsu on him from a highlight reel on YouTube like 15 years ago, 18 years ago. So thanks to Shinya. I know you've kind of talked badly about my training partner in Japan recently, but that's the reason why I can use rubber guard at my size and why I have all these crazy submissions because of your highlights. So arigato.
Oh yeah, arigato gozaimasu. But was it that highlight reel where he submitted that dumbass that basically said, "Hello, Japan"? Or what?
I know which one you're talking about. It's even older than that. It's I'll send it to you later. It's actually amazing. Shows all of his old like original fights and some of his jujitsu matches,
Hmm.
and it's just amazing, you know.
I see, I see. But still, though, before we move on, when it comes down to talking about the core emphasis of why we're here, I mean, I'm just basically saying, how do you think that us casual fans, aside, well, actually, no, we're not casuals. We're diehards. We actually, live and bleed for this shit. Well, not really, but still, though. Point of the matter is, do you think that when it comes down to the appeal of this event, and this is probably going to appeal to, you know, the casual fan who probably wouldn't even know what the hell RIZIN is, but let's just say, casual fans aside, if they were to basically look for one thing to look forward to off of this event, considering this is Super RIZIN 5 we're talking about, and it's going to take place at the Kyocera Dome in Osaka, what can fans hope to expect from this show just off of those 8 fights I put over alone? Yukiko?
Well, they expect a lot of excitement and, a lot of the fighters bringing something to the fights, right? They're going to bring it. And I even watched I'm learning my Japanese, so I make myself watch stuff in Japanese. I watched the press conference, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
was parroting a lot of the Japanese. But you see what an event and how special it is even from that. And that they're going to bring their best game, right? That they do anyway, but for this, it has such a high profile for them and such importance and such a, RIZIN is elevating it to such a level that they're going to bring their best, right?
Mm-hmm.
So competitive violence, I mean, they're already known for finishing, but that they are just going to show out and show up. So that's for sure. That's always the case, but in something like this that has so much of a big, highlight on it, magnifying glass, they're going to just be so proud to be a part of this event that they're just going to bring everything. So I know that for a fact.
Of course. Taylor, you got any final thoughts about Super RIZIN 5 before we move on?
It's a loaded card, you know. It's got all the big stars that all the Japanese fans love, like Ren, Asakura, etc. So we know it's going to be a sellout. We know it's going to do huge pay-per-view numbers. We know it's going to make a lot of money for RIZIN, and that's great. And you better watch this card because it's going to be one of the best cards of the year outside of New Year's in terms of star power.
Oh, yeah, of course. And for the uninhibited, when it comes down to the event title, it is Cho Rising ni Naniwa no Cho Fukatsu Matsuri, otherwise known as Super RIZIN 5 Naniwa Super Resurrection Festival. And let's face it, for the casual fans who thought that JMMA was dead, it's about to be a true resurrection on September 10th. Believe me. But enough about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll talk about RIZIN 54, which is the next available event coming up in 3 weeks later on as well. But we got to talk about RIZIN Landmark 15. We got to talk about 8 finishes that took place on 12 fights, or actually 15 fights on this card over the weekend. And you know what? I mean, I'm not even going to basically beat around the bush. Yeah, this fight card may have had 9,950 people come out to the Hiroshima Green Arena just to see it. But the main event was definitely one that everybody was talking about, and that is Danny Sabatello, the Italian gangster in his own mind, basically made Jinosuke Kashimura go blank, knocking him out. 40 seconds, round 3, almost curb stomped his ass, but still, though, he knocked Kashimura out. And I mean, keep in mind, it was a 3-round fight. Just imagine how crazy that would have been if it was a 5-round fight, right? But still, though, Sabatello was on the ropes, well, on the fence in this case. I mean, this is a cage fight, not a ring fight. But Sabatello was on the cage fence, basically needing to come up with a finish, because if he wouldn't have gotten the finish, his title reign would have just been good as vacant. But still, though, Sabatello managed to get the win. You know, said in his post-fight speech that there's, and I'm paraphrasing in this case, because this not just goes to RIZIN, this goes pretty much to MMA. No fighter has defended their belt 4 times in a calendar year in mixed martial arts, let alone in RIZIN. So he's hoping to be a part of that Super RIZIN 5 card in September, maybe in a rematch against Naoki Inoue, who he also called out and called every type of name in the book. But still, though, when you think about this particular fight that happened for Sabatello, him getting the 3rd round knockout, you know, would you think that either Naoki Inoue or perhaps Mitch McKee, a fighter out of St. Charles, Minnesota, well, actually St. Michael, Minnesota, who just called him out earlier today, or even the guy who competed 2 fights before him in your respect, Demolition Tylenov, do you think that either of those 3 would be considered viable opponents for Sabatello, either in September or possibly on New Year's Eve? Taylor, you go first since you're the actual fighter of the 3 of us.
I think when it comes to RIZIN, it more matters what the Japanese fans want to see. Like, yeah, in the West, it'd be cool if some high-profile PFL fighter comes over. But then if he steals the belt from Danny, no one in Japan cares about this guy. They'd rather see an Ito, probably, or something like that. That would be an epic match.
As in Yuki Ito?
Something, something like that. One of the first guy you mentioned, right? Of the 3.
I think the first guy I mentioned was Naoki Inoue, who...
Inoue, yeah, sorry. I mixed up the fighters. Naoki Inoue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a great match. I could see that selling well in Japan.
Oh, yeah, of course. Especially if, considering the fact that, that fight would probably be more like a New Year's Eve type of fight. Because you wouldn't want to just give Inoue a rematch in September, have him lose, and then have Sabatello basically do next to nothing until waiting to fight somebody who the Japanese fans don't really know about. That to me would basically be the main thing I would point to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But still, though, and Yukiko, you can go ahead and talk as well. You don't have to keep yourself completely muted. But when you think about this particular fight, what did Sabatello do right to make sure that he got the win, other than knock Kashimura out completely?
I'm always gonna be a little hard on him. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He didn't. I mean, I know he did what he had to do, but his striking is awful. Like, I was watching him, and I was just thinking, I know he was kind of wild, but I don't actually think Kashimura was much of a challenge for him, and at all. And so when I watch him strike, I mean, I understand he did what he needed to do. He made the fans happy. I don't like hate him. I just think that whoever they put him up against, I want to see him against someone more competitive. I believe since I saw Inoue at PFL that he would have a better, fight now coming back from a win. And, that fight was kind of weird anyway. So I just, with my comments, because I'm pretty harsh, right? Because I look and I'm thinking, I'm glad he got the finish, he got his moment, but I would like to see a very good fighter that's very competitive go up against him because I still think he has a lot to prove.
Oh yeah.
He didn't do his, whatever grappling or whatever smothering style. And when I watch him strike, I'm just like, oh, so I'm glad he got that, but I am very critical of him because I want him to be better than that, right? So I think Taylor's right, someone that the Japanese care about, but someone who could actually beat him would be more interesting than someone who's not going to, be a tough match for him.
So, in other words, basically, he would want to face off against Inoue rather than Mitchell McKee or even Yurispek Tyronov, right?
Yes, well, I think a Japanese person, but the Japanese fans do like some of these people from, like they do like the people from the other region, like Tilinov and all that, right? But I think that a lot of people do want to see that Inoue rematch, especially after Inoue went and got a good win over at the PFL.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I'm sure he won people over, but I'm sure like people like me, there's others like me in Japan, well, that are in Japan that are still saying, well, let's see some more. Okay, you got your finish, hooray! But let's see a really competitive fight where you're actually, challenged.
Oh yeah, of course. And speaking of lack of challenges, I mean, what do you do next with Battle Box's black belt rebel, Jinosuke Kashimura next?
That's tough to say. I think he needs some recovery time off that. That was a pretty bad KO, and that
Oh
ref
yeah,
saved his ass too.
oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's either that for him or, go back to defending your title in deep. Yeah, he's the current deep interim bantamweight champion, but still though, you're also 2-2 in RIZIN competition, so maybe that knockout might have woken him up a bit just to go back to the drawing board. And in his case, the drawing board is back to defending his, I wouldn't say regional belt, because Deep is definitely one of the more polished feeder promotions around the world. They partnered up with Pride, they partnered up with Dream back in the day, and now they partnered up with RIZIN over the last 11 years. So basically, their track record is impeccable for partnering up with other promotions, but I think that Kashimura needs to just go back and defend his belt while he still has it. Otherwise, maybe he should think about going into another line of work. Now, Yukiko, do you have anything else you would like to say about this fight before we move on?
Nope, I've said enough. But yeah, Kashimura, same. I do agree. That was a kind of a whooping.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But it served its purpose to make what's his name Sabatello look like a superhero, and we move on. We move on to what's next for him. See what happens. See how he continues to either prove or disprove himself.
Mm-hmm. And in the case of the loss for Kashimura, it ends a 4-fight winning streak for him. In the case of Danny Sabatello, second successful title defense, it improves on a 5-win in 6-fight streak for him, considering the fact that the last time he got a loss was against Rafion Stotts back at Bellator 301, the last Bellator show back on November 17th, 2023. But from there, we move on to talk about the co-main event. And speaking of whoopings, Yukiko, Karshiga Doubtbeck laid one on old Underground Emperor Kyohei Hagiwara, knocking him out 4 minutes, 8 seconds of round number one. Overhand left and grounded punches. Woo-wee. So beautiful. Beautiful violence on display by Doubtbeck, but still don't. When it came down to this particular result, we now know that Doubtbeck doesn't want to go after fighting Rajabali Shadalayev next for the title. I mean, it's pretty damn obvious because of the fact that you got Shadalayev versus McKee at Super RIZIN 5 for 20 pounds of gold. But since Doubtbeck doesn't want to fight for the title next, who would be a good choice to face off against him? Yukiko? You mind answering that?
He's on the 9-10 card, right?
No, unfortunately he's not.
Oh, they took that off there?
I mean, it would have been cool if he was, but oh wait, actually, no.
He is on there.
You're right, because he's facing off against Ren Hiramoto.
Yeah, and he was at the presser that I watched.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, for him,
only one of the biggest fights in the country, you know, no big deal.
Yeah, of course. And I mean,
yeah, no, and he's just he seems so underrated, and then he hits like a damn truck, right? So
yes,
he's little. He just looks like this little guy, and then he's just fireworks. So I think he's very focused. He's just very strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that should be a good fight against Ren Hiramoto. That should be good because you know, it's another chance for him to do that again. But I don't know much about Ren Hiramoto.
Ren Hiramoto is a former K1 kickboxer who's known for having a piss poor attitude.
Okay.
But then again, when it comes down to it, I mean, I wouldn't basically say, oh, all fighters from K1 have had piss poor attitudes, because, you know, some of these fighters got stiffed by a previous iteration of their ownership. So, you know, they deserve every right to be pissed. But still don't, you know. When it comes down to the Doubtbeck fight, when it comes down to him beating up Hagiwara, and now you're giving him a quick turnaround to face off against Ren Hiramoto, Taylor, you can go ahead and answer this. What do you think will be different for Doubtbeck going from fighting a 9-12 guy in Hagiwara to facing off against a 4-3 brash, cocky SOB like Ren Hiramoto?
Well, to be fair, Ren is a much higher level striker, much higher level star. It will be a different fight and a slightly more dangerous fight for Doubtbeck. But kind of like the hip hop beefs that occur in America.
Yep.
All my friends in Japan and training partners all have issues with people. And one of the main issues is that Ren Hiramoto. So I won't be supporting him. I hope Doubtbeck kicks his ass.
Mm-hmm.
I could see another knockout from Doubtbeck just to shut him up.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely see that happening. I mean, to be honest, when it comes down to Karshiga Doubtbeck, and with this win, he now improves to 19-3 overall. And let me go ahead and do this little piss poor on the fly research. Oh my God, he has not lost a fight in 7.5 years. I mean, yeah, way to basically bounce back off of that no contest he had with Yuta Kubo back on New Year's Eve. But still, though, this dude's been demolishing fighters left, right, and center. But, man, I mean, that dude is just basically going to steamroll through a lot of fighters. And unfortunately, Kyohei Hagiwara was made an example out of. And I'm pretty sure Ren Hiramoto will be made an even bigger example out of come September 10th. But when it comes down to what's next for Hagiwara, and Taylor, you can go ahead and answer this, and then Yukiko, you can answer after him. But when it comes down to what's next for Hagiwara, what do you see would be a viable alternative for the Underground Emperor?
Man, no offense, Hagiwara. You're 0-3. You got knocked out 3 times. You either need to take a year off or you need to go to Breaking Down. Go get a win in Breaking Down against some bum because it's not looking good for you lately.
Oh, yeah, of course. And oh, by the way, his record is now 9-13 with one no contest. Well, actually, 8-11 with one no contest in RIZIN, but he's pretty much lost his last 3 if you count the Kaleo Mehula fight as a knockout loss. But yeah, I agree with you. Dude should go back to Breaking Down. Well, actually, no, the dude should go to Breaking Down and end up fighting just any Joe or Joe or Johnny come lately, so to speak. Yukiko, what say you? What do you think that Kyohei Hagiwara should do next?
This is a fighter, once again, I don't know a lot about him. I think it's almost like he was brought in to lose. So, back to the drawing board if he has the opportunity to improve, but he's just one of those fighters with not a very good record, and now it was a bad look, right? So people have recency bias, etc., that he lost, right? So he's got to build himself back up
True,
somehow.
that he did, but it's like we opined before. And we're going to probably mention this when it comes down to talking about the the Ursin Yamamoto versus Hiroya fight in a little bit. But no matter how bad the fighters have with these records, they're still going to be marketed because RIZIN feels like these fighters, even with under 500 records, can still maintain themselves to be stars. I just think that when it comes down to Hagiwara, he's going to get a couple fights in Breaking Down before possibly getting the opportunity to fight in RIZIN again. Maybe he might take a fight in one of these other fight leagues, Deep, Shudo, or Pancrase. But still, though, I just think that Hagiwara's next fight should not be in RIZIN. That's just my opinion. But still, though, let's go ahead and talk about the dazzling debut that happened in RIZIN over the weekend. That was Yurisbek YRYSBEK Demolition Tilenov TILENOV knocking out former Olympic silver medal wrestler Shinobu Ota, putting his lights out. 3 minutes, 4 seconds, round 2, punches and devastating knees. The dude's a training partner of Rajabali Shadalayev. When you're the training partner of the featherweight champion of the world, you have to think that a title shot would be in your future. And I can go ahead and say this, Taylor. You can answer first. But do you think that a title shot for Tilenov would be too soon?
Yeah, I don't agree with a title shot at all. What I do agree with is a Tylenol sponsorship for Tylenol to give to his opponents after he knocks them out.
Headache maker.
Yes, man, I was so impressed with this kid. Like, he's got a good record, a good team. He beats some strong fighters, but I didn't realize he was that good. Like, he is very special.
Oh yeah. When you are training alongside trained killers, and one of them happens to be the featherweight champion of the world in the RIZIN Fighting Federation, you basically learn a lot of those traits. You basically learn how to put a man to put a man out and separate him from his conscience. And to be honest, that to me is why Tyonov basically just ran this dude over. Now, Yukiko, you can basically answer this. If there is not a title shot in Tyonov's future, what could possibly be next for him as far as future opponents go?
I'm not sure who I agree it's too early, but he is very talented because he's also has a very high IQ and a lot of skills. And against Ota, who's a more of the silver medalist wrestler guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't have the versatility to deal with someone with that many tools in his tool bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure RIZIN is going to want to build him up, because how can you not, feature someone like this, right? With that kind of versatile skill set, which some of the Japanese fighters don't have, right? To that degree. Great scrambling ability, just very. So I think that if they're smart, they don't want to give him somebody that's going to give him a chance to win again, right? Build his star power. I know that you don't care about records, but the fact that they have someone so talented that's in the same camp as the champion, it's very good for the promotion. And just when you have a fighter like that, who's that skilled, it's pretty hard, whatever your nationality is or where you come from, it's pretty hard not to like him. So I think they're going to hopefully be smart matchmaking. I don't have any particular opponent in mind, but someone where it would be competitive and fun, but not someone who's going to get a chance for him to lose in any great fashion.
Exactly.
That would be waste, yeah, because he's too young.
I mean, if anything, I don't think you're going to give the man the title shot right away, because this is only fight number 1 for him in RIZIN.
But he's only 22 years old. You don't.
Yes, he is 22, 23 years old. I mean, he's young.
Yeah, he's super young. So, it's you don't want to take that much excitement and push him too hard, because he'll grow by leaps and bounds anyway, regardless, right?
Exactly. And when it comes down to Shinobu Ota, the 2016 Olympic silver medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling, what do you do next with the man? Because he just came off of a phenomenal fight beforehand. I mean, now he basically got ran over. I mean, yeah, you're going to let him basically sit out for a few months just to clear his head, but what do you do next for a guy who's basically proven that wrestlers got hands too? Taylor, you answer that first.
Well, there's a lot of guys looking for fights right now in RIZIN, so I keep hearing Jose Shorty Torres wants a fight. Why not let them fight each other?
You know what? I would love to see that. I'm pretty sure Jose would love to see that too, because he's been itching, scratching, and clawing to get back into the cage or in the ring for RIZIN. Might as well give him that opportunity to showcase himself. It'll definitely be a good wrestler matchup that won't feel like a wrestling matchup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, it's a good match. It'll be relatively competitive too.
Oh yeah, of course. And by the way, Tyonov is 22 years old, born December 14th, 2003. But so yeah, he is pretty damn young. But still though, Yukiko, what say you? What do you think should be next for Shinobu Ota?
I like that matchup Taylor mentioned. And Shorty is very fan friendly. He replies a lot to my comments on X. I like his and he is itching for a fight. He's always saying, I'm ready, like in all his posts, right? So that would be great, because it would be competitive, and similar, some similar traits that they have, so that it would be fun, not just some guy running over the other guy. Not to say that couldn't happen, but I like that suggestion from Taylor.
I mean, yeah, and in a way, when it comes down to a potential fight between Taiwanov and Torres, I would just love to see that fight just because of the fact that, it would give Taiwanov a legitimate test to see if he can match the same mantle he managed to do with this particular fight against Shinobu Ota. Because, again, you know, you want to build up your fighters to the point where they know they're ready for title shots rather than just put them on a pedestal, give them the title too soon, and then outright let them crash and burn. But still, though, we'll just have to wait and see when it comes down to Taiwanov potentially getting future opportunities. But I do love that opportunity of him possibly facing off against somebody like Jose Torres. I'm pretty sure if he is listening to this or watching this, and I'm gonna make sure that he does. If he ain't, he would love that too. But still, though, we move on now to talk about the under 500 matchup that overwhelmed a lot of us. And that was Ersin Badman Yamamoto defeating Hiroya Kondo via unanimous decision. All three judges scored the fight, I think 30-27, maybe 30-26 for Yamamoto. The son of Miyu, the nephew of the legendary Norifumi Kid Yamamoto, may he rest in peace. But still, though, when it comes down to these two fighters, as we mentioned before, when it came down to Kyohei Hagiwara, yeah, they may be under 500, but if you sell well, if you get asses in seats, if you get people talking about you, you're gonna be worth bringing back. Similar to Fighting Worth the Damn in RIZIN, but still, though, when it comes down to this particular fight, what's next for both Ersin and Hiroya after these 15 minutes proved that they belong in RIZIN? Taylor, you go first.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Yamamoto's had that good fighting spirit, and you could tell he's related to Kid. What's next for him? That's a good question. I think that he probably can't handle the upper echelon of RIZIN fighters, but he's kind of win one, lose one, win one, lose one kind of fighter. But I'd like to see him fight someone with a bit closer record to his next.
Oh, yeah, of course. But then again, where are you going to be able to find? I mean, I would basically be answering my own question as to where are you going to be able to find these guys? You're probably going to give some underperforming guy from our side of the Pacific, North America, an opportunity to basically make a quick buck just to fly out to Japan and get flattened by the son of a legendary wrestler / street fighter. Well, actually, no. The son of a legendary wrestler and the nephew of a street fighter.
Yeah, I'd rather him fight like some Japanese domestic fighter, like call someone up from deep, Pancrase Shudo. In my opinion, I'm biased, but like if you're from the West, you should earn a shot in RIZIN by fighting on the regional card or being a champion from the West and coming over. And he doesn't need to fight a champion from the West. Why not fight a decent fighter moving up?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, especially if they are just starting out like 3-0, 4-0 in their career, it would definitely be a true test for that person to face off against somebody like an Ersin Yamamoto in RIZIN. And, Yukiko, you can go ahead and chime in on this too. What's next for either one of these two fighters coming up after what they just put over in 15 minutes of work?
I was Team Ersin anyway. So he's just a fun fighter. So he should have something fun, right? Where he could just be him. So I agree with Taylor that it should be a Japanese fighter, just more interesting, and someone, maybe from outside the promotion that has a mid record or it's building up. That's what I like. Um, well, I don't know who for Hiroa son. I don't know enough about, like I said, I'm learning very fast, right? Now I got all my notes. I'm getting super skilled on who all these people are. But I don't know what's next for him, but something where he could possibly get a win, right? After that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he kind of got overshadowed by, the pedigree of
Yep.
Yamamoto. Yeah. So he needs something where he can, have an enjoyable fight. Like he's not to prove anything because of his record, but he just wants to fight. And we want to see him fight, and we want to see him fight in something that he can at least have a chance of being victorious.
Mm-hmm. And the sad part about it for Hiroya is he's currently now on a 3-fight losing streak. All 3 of those fights he lost were unanimous decision losses to Yuki Motoya, Makoto Shinryu Takahashi, who is now the RIZIN flyweight champion of the world, and obviously Ersin Yamamoto. If you add in the fight he had with Hideo Tokoro at Super RIZIN 3 about 2 years ago, he's 2-4 in his last 6. So, or 2 back in deep. Maybe he should take a fight over in Pancrase. I mean, I just think that he should be able to prove that he can be a champion like his trainer Billy Bigelow says. But also, like Billy says, it's going to take time for him to grow and be the fighter that RIZIN expects him to be, especially considering that he's 3-6 in the promotion. I mean, are y'all agreeing with me on that?
Agreed.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying, especially considering the fact that, with the loss, Hiroya now drops to 11-16-1. With the win for Yamamoto, he improves to 7-8 overall. But I think won no contest, but still though. But no, and actually he is 7-8 overall. The next fight, if he wins, if he were to get booked soon, would put him at the 500 mark. But still though, RIZIN may not get many people to fall in love with under 500 fighters, but when they do, they really do well by them. And hopefully, whatever next steps for Hiroya or Ersin go, hopefully they will sell well and try and maintain the rest of their careers and hopefully get out of the slump that they're in, the respective slumps that they're in. But moving on.
I'll be right back, by the way, guys.
Okay. So yeah, moving on, we now talk about Johnny Hollywood Case and his first round knockout win over Tenya Yoshimura. That knockout happened at 3 minutes 14 seconds of round number 1, uppercut to grounded punches. I mean, to be honest, both of these fighters missed weight in their last particular fights. In the what am I trying to say? In the case of Johnny, he lost his last 2 fights. Well, actually, no, he missed weight his last 2 fights and basically had to suffer a penalty for his last fight, which was in South Korea, a win over Juri Ohara that got overturned. In the case of Tenya Yoshimura, he ended up missing weight by a whole damn division. He was almost basically fighting as a welterweight in his last fight, and he lost. But still, though, point is, Johnny Case is back on the scene, knocking out Tenya Yoshimura. I mean, Yukiko, since Taylor is not in the vicinity to answer this, you can go ahead and answer. What's next for Johnny Case after this win?
Once again, I'm not the best matchmaker yet in RIZIN, but that was a great win for him. You know, spirited, wonderful win for him. And the problem when you have a dominant KO like that in the first few minutes, the other fighter kind of becomes unforgettable, right? So, with Tenya having that 3 and plus weight miss, right, pound weight miss, and then Case having a great win, something where he can build upon that win, right? Something where he could have a potential another finish, something that's going to keep him on the rise since he just started. With Tanya, I have no idea. It just makes it, when someone comes in there and does that, you go, who? And all you see is Johnny Case. So for Johnny, something, fun and another potential violent type matchup. And Tanya, I don't know.
Well, Taylor, glad you were able to jump back in, but still, though, when it comes down to Johnny Case's next steps, I mean, obviously the title picture at lightweight has been changing a lot in the last 8 months. I mean, especially considering the fact that you had a title change on New Year's Eve. Roberto Satoshi Sosa lost the fight to Ilkham Nazimov in 13 seconds. And then Ilkham himself got knocked out in just as a quick amount of time by Luis Killer Gustavo. Johnny Case pretty much put himself in the lightweight title picture, but how soon is too soon for Johnny to get that potential opportunity?
It's possible, right? Like everyone loves Johnny. He's done pretty good in the promotion, and he has that background fighting in UFC and PFL once. So, I wouldn't mind him fighting a PFL crossover because I think his one PFL fight, it wasn't a win or a loss. It was a draw or something. So it'd be kind of cool to see him fight a PFL fighter. But yeah, one of the upper echelon RIZIN fighters would be cool as well.
And what do you do about Tenya Yoshimura?
Tenya, you got to send him back to Pancrase. Let him build up a bit more and work towards a title shot there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, to be honest, he did come in from, being a top King of Pancrase title contender. He's 5-2 over there. But ever since joining RIZIN, it's been nothing but downhill swings. I mean, he lost to Nurkan Zumagazi, and now he's lost to Johnny Case via devastating knockout. But still, though, I guess you are right. He should go back to Pancrase and just basically prove himself over there rather than try and even attempt to make himself known here. But still, though, before we move on, I guess, do y'all have anything else y'all would like to say about this fight, or can we just move on?
Think we good?
Okay, fair enough. Well, then, let's go ahead and talk about the two fights that took place in the, I guess you would say, invisible Women's Super Atomweight Grand Prix. Saori Oshima, the Little Giant, got the knee bar submission win over Yi-Jae Lee. 100 seconds of round number 1. That's 1:40 for those who are mathematically challenged. Meanwhile, Siwoo Park got the win over Moeri Suda via unanimous decision in Siwoo Park's first fight in RIZIN in almost 3 years. But the thing is, you got Saori Oshima getting the win, putting all her 4 feet 11 inches in strength and muscle just to basically get the win over a Korean fighter who really had no business being in the cage. I mean, she's just all hype from Road FC and not much of anything else. But still, though, You had Saori Yoshima getting the win via submission. You had Sibu Park getting the win via decision. You know, the fans, and particularly Ayaka, no, not Ayaka Hamasaki, but you know what I mean. Seiki Izawa, when she vacated the belt, she said during the press conference, and it was beautifully subtitled in English, we want to see knockouts. We want to see finishes. Oshima got the sub, and yeah, she should probably be in consideration for that New Year's Eve title shot for the women's super atomweight title, which is vacated now. Whoever wins that title will become the third champion in that lineage. But should Sibu Park face off against Namiko Kawabata, who got the win over Ayane Hirata in the prelims via decision?
Your mic is really bad.
Mine or Taylor's?
Yours.
Ah, shit.
It's better now, but it was like we couldn't, it was all like.
Maybe it's because of the fact that I'm rambling too long. I don't know. I mean, we're only an hour into this podcast for some reason, and thankfully I'm not turned into a meme yet. But still, though, the question I'm trying to ask is Saori Yoshima is definitely going to be contender number one for that women's super atomweight title on New Year's Eve. But should Siwoo Park and Namiko Kawabata face off against each other next because of the fact that they didn't get finishes? Taylor? I mean, no, wait, actually, Yukiko, women first, ladies first is what I'm trying to say. You can go first and answer that.
Well, what I like about this is I listen to, the commentary. I like about this invisible, they call it the invisible, because you really don't know. They don't have to face off. It doesn't have to make any sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, Oshima is a big fan favorite. Got a very great finish, right? Mm-hmm. Such a fan favorite. And then that they're going to have to get a finish to have any potential to move forward because they're just going to fall off now. And Suda just didn't look very good. Okay. And I wanted her to look good, but she didn't. So, and Woo Park pretty much just came on at the end. Right. So I don't think that except for the ones that are impressive and have a finish, it kind of is murky in terms of who's going to go against who and who's going to have any potential in this Grand Prix, right? So, right. So that's what but Oshima set the precedence, and they know now you can't just go out there and win a decision. You have to be impressive, and then you're just gonna, they're gonna figure out in the invisible, not any kind of common sense, right? Who's gonna be what? And I like that because then you have to stand out. It's not like just because you beat this one, you're going to get this one because it's not like that. So I really like that component of the Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And, there's two more fights in this invisible Grand Prix that are going to be talked about, and that's Kate Lotus Oyama versus Noelle Narita at RIZIN 53 coming up in about 3 weeks' time. And then, obviously, you got Natasha Kuziutina, the former Olympic silver medal judoka, facing off against Reina Kubota, the shoot boxing goddess, at Super RIZIN 5 coming up on September 10th. But still, though, when it comes down to those two fights, and this is where you, Taylor, can chime in as well as the actual fighter, do you think that those four fighters that I mentioned over the next two shows will definitely need to come up with some added firepower in order to prove that they belong in this tournament?
Yeah, let's see how these fights play out, right? Mm-hmm. Ideally, each one of these remaining fights ends in a finish, and then the tournament is straightforward. But if one of these upcoming fights ends in a decision, that was so. Maybe then you do match them with one of the former winners of a decision and see if a finish can come from that match. So that's the variable of the invisible tournament. We don't know what's going to happen, who's going to get picked. And if I was in the tournament, I'd be going for a finish. So it's cool. It motivates them. Hopefully, there's some sort of bonus system or something as well to motivate them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see who gets crowned at the end of this, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm looking forward to it as well because, when it comes down to it, yeah, they really hoping for a decision. Well, actually, no, they're not looking forward to a decision. They're basically saying, we need finishes. And if you can't give us finishes, then what's the point of putting over this Grand Prix or even putting over this title while Seika Izawa is trying to become a family raiser, you know? I mean, that's my opinion when it comes down to that. And you know what? Before we continue on, I mean, I'd just like to ask, we say about the winners of this potential tournament, or at least these two bouts, especially Siwoo Park getting the win over. Oh, wait, actually, no. Let me go ahead and rephrase that, and let me talk about let me go ahead and talk about the prelim fight that did happen. Hime Namiko Kawabata versus Hirata. Kawabata won via unanimous decision. I did not know that Hime was a former basketball player by the way she done her signature pose, making it feel like she was shooting a jumper. But still, though, you got Ayane Hirata, you got Moeri Suda, and unfortunately, you got Yi Lee, who is now under 500 because of her loss. What do you do with either one of those three moving forward? Taylor, you go first, then Yukiko.
It's kind of up in the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Siwoo Park decision wasn't that exciting. The former basketball player, uh, Kawabata.
Um, Either Kawabata or Hime, Hime for short.
Yeah, she was actually pretty impressive to me. Her athleticism transferred over from basketball. I feel like she has some potential. As for the Harada who she defeated, she was just too small. She didn't have the range and she couldn't strike her way in. So she'll need to fight like a size appropriate opponent next.
I mean, I would say she should fight Saori Oshima, but Saori's moving on.
Yeah.
uh, and Yukiko, you can go ahead and chime in on this. What to do next with the three fighters who lost?
Now let me ask a question, okay? Because Hime was pretty good. Harada just didn't look impressive, and she just gassed out. She just didn't have any answers, right? And then Hime really just came on strong at the end, right? It was kind of mid, and then she just shined because Harata-san was just, she had nothing. She was so tired, right? She just didn't have any will. And so when you have these people that have a decision, do they have to be matched up to move forward, or do they ever get eliminated? Do they keep matching them up? I don't really understand how this works.
I mean, to be honest, I think it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a round robin style tournament, but still.
They're gonna fight again if they all fight against somebody for sure?
I mean, I think when it comes down to this, and I don't know, maybe they might have like a semifinals for this in November at the RIZIN show that'll take place in November. I think it's RIZIN Landmark 17 that'll take place in Chiba, Japan. But still, though, more on that a little later. But still, though, point is, I think that they should probably do like a semifinal type of event in November. Have two fights take place, and then that'll decide who's going to be fighting on New Year's Eve. Wouldn't that be a swell idea?
But do like some of these people that weren't very good, do they definitely have another matchup, or do they possibly just get eliminated?
Well, aside from Moeri, I think that the other two fighters don't really stand a chance to move on. I mean,
No, they and then like you said, now it will be interesting to see because as you move forward, they're more exciting. The other ones are just forgettable. I'm sorry, but now they know we got to do this, and they know that, but it's going to raise the stakes, and they have to really realize that. And I think Oshima knew that, right? She knew that. She came and fought her little, what off, right? So she's fireball.
I mean, to basically quote Jay Wolf, when it comes down to doing these shows, she definitely learned the assignment.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, anything else you'd like to say before we move on?
No, I think we just have to see how the tournament plays forward. If the bout is, hard to remember a couple days after the tournament, the matchmakers aren't going to push them forward in the tournament. So let's just see what happens on each round, and then that'll help us determine who's going to be the semifinalists.
Oh, yeah, of course. And now let's go ahead and move on to talk about a fight between two old guys that made us all feel like, where has the time gone? Well, not where has the time gone, but do either of these two still have a little bit of magic left in them? That would be the samurai, Shoji Maruyama, defeating Yabaidaro, Genji Umeno via unanimous decision. Now, I didn't really watch much of the match. I probably fell asleep like halfway through it before realizing it was over, but still, though, point of the matter is, Shoji snapped his 3-fight losing streak. Actually, no, it wasn't a 3-fight losing streak, I'm afraid. It was basically more like 4 or 5, but yeah, it was a 4-fight losing streak. Good lord. But still, though, point is, Shoji snapped a 4-fight losing streak, giving Genji Umeno his second loss in mixed martial arts. And Umeno is still saying that he wants to retire with his head held high, maybe with a few specialty fights on, around the end of the year, maybe toward New Year's. But still, though, when it came down to these two old men, and, that's saying a lot considering that I'm 33 myself, I would probably not consider myself that old. But does this fight, Shoji versus Genji, make the latter's potential retirement feel like a last-ditch effort? Taylor, you go first.
Well, I hate to admit it, but I was wrong on my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Genji was going to smoke Shoji, but it was the other way around. Shoji's grappling was way too strong, good wrestling. So, unfortunately, if Genji lacks in the grappling department and he can't defeat a fighter who's on a losing streak like that and much older, he's going to have trouble with the average RIZIN fighter. So, I don't know. If he wants to retire in MMA, he'll have to face an even lower level competitor next time.
Oh, you mean like a novice?
Yeah. Well, just someone that lacks the grappling ability, the level of Shoji. And of course, he has like 40 professional fights. So I didn't factor that in. That he's been training a long time and he's a good fighter. And yeah, maybe even a Ryzen kickboxing fight. I know, like, it's not our favorite, but if you're a striking specialist and they like you and they want you to win, maybe he does a striking showcase fight
I
and
mean,
hangs it up.
it would make sense, especially for Umino, who has 70 plus kickboxing and Muay Thai fights to his credit, and shoot boxing as well. But still, though, now I can add you in to talk about this, Yukiko. When it comes down to these two fighters, what's next for Genji? What's next for Shoji?
I'm so happy for Shoji, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
the hometown, and it's just such good for the sport, right? So whatever happens to him next, he won at home, right? When he was basically brought in, when you were saying prior to fill seats, but he won. So this is great, right? and it brings back the heart of the promotion and that kind of stuff. And it's hard when someone like Whammo, probably a lot of people thought, yeah, you're just going to come in and run over the old guy, the older guy. Okay.
Mm.
So I just like fights like this because of the hometown spirit. So I don't think either one, they just want to fight again. And I hope Whammo gets something, where he can possibly win and come back from this so that he can go right into the sunset with some kind of happiness, right? Instead of
Mm.
feeling like, well, it was time to go because I was done. So either one, they should give them something, winnable or at least interesting or entertaining, right? Where they can enjoy fighting.
Oh
But
yeah,
I'm just so happy for Shoji. Yeah.
I'm just happy for both of them because neither one of them managed to blow a gasket or basically just give out halfway through. I mean, I know that Umino's 37, Shoji's 43, but still, though, those two old men really proved their worth in the promotion. I mean, anything else y'all want to say about this fight before we move on to talk about the other old man in the equation?
Nope, but
Yeah, it was a good fight. Shows that the Unks still can duke it out in the RIZIN cage and ring, but I feel like we could just move on. There was nothing too insane to break down in that fight.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and talk about the other old man in the equation, and that is Kaibutsu-kun, the general killer, the monster. Hiroaki Suzuki knocking out Miyagawa, via TKO, elbows and knees, 3 minutes, 29 seconds of round number 2. I mean, still though, you have to think at 41 years old, Hiroaki Suzuki is really trying to prove that even though he is an older man, and yeah, he's about a couple of years younger than Shoji Maruyama, but still though, you know, do you think that Hiroaki Suzuki's days are starting to get numbered, or should he be more feared despite his old age continuing into this fight sports realm? Taylor, you go first.
Definitely more feared. Like I anticipated he would win, even though they have a similar record. He's fought stronger competition, but damn, like he performed like a much younger athletic fighter. His wrestling skills, grappling skills were amazing. He was able to control the fight and not take any damage. So it's full steam ahead. Let's get him in there again soon, and let's see what he can do against a different stylist. I'm a fan now.
Oh yeah, of course. Yukiko, you got anything to say about? Well, actually, no. I would say, do you have anything to say about it? But still, don't. Do you have anything to say about how you know about how? I'm sorry, I am just having a massive brain fart right now. But still, though, Hiroaki Suzuki got the win via knockout. Do you still think that with Suzuki's old man strength, that he can continue on in the fight sports world?
yes, because the experience and just we can't overlook that what that kind of win does for somebody. I mean, he is so happy, right? And just to get that, there's something to say about momentum and self belief, right? And just that feeling. So we got to give him some more opportunities to do that, right? Because it was such an awesome comeback, right? You're
Yep.
just like, oh no, oh no, okay, here he comes. And he just, when you come back like that and you do something almost heroic, it's just so great. I mean, this is why we love fights, right? We
Mm-hmm.
don't love fights just because some guy, well, we do sometimes, but not just because some guy comes and just, you know, rolls over somebody. When somebody makes a comeback like that, it gets the crowd going, and he's so happy, and he's still so happy. And days after the fight, he's so happy, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
good momentum builder, and definitely give him some more.
Oh yeah, of course. And before we continue on, I mean, I just want to ask, what do you do next with Hyuga Miyagawa?
That's a weird one, right? Because on the regional scene, he wasn't doing good. He had a losing record, and then he comes to RIZIN, he wins a couple fights. So it's normal, I'd say, send him back down, but in this case, he seems to do better in RIZIN. So
Mm-hmm.
it's tough to say. He has a winning record still, so he should fight again in RIZIN, but against maybe a striker style, someone who has not as strong grappling ability, I think.
Oh, yeah, of course, especially considering that, again, this fight was just basically out of a whim for Miyagawa. He would have not wanted to take this fight if he could have, but again, dude basically proved himself well despite getting knocked out. And, hopefully he'll get more opportunities to prove himself even more to the RIZIN faithful, in due time. But still, though, we move on from that to talk about let's just say, if you were in the mind of Shinji Sasaki's young daughter, you probably would have had to avert your eyes because of the just carnage that her daddy suffered. I mean, same thing can also be said for Megumi Fuji, just looking at her husband take that ass whooping by Yota Rice Hayashi. You know, the fight ended 2 minutes, 17 seconds of round number 2. Hayashi getting the knockout win via knees to literally the grounded opponent. I mean, that was beautiful. Unfortunately, it felt so cinematic. I mean, it's like I can't even talk about it. If you happen to have RIZIN.TV, go order the fucking replay. Go order the replay so you can see how brutal that damn fight was for yourself. I mean, you would definitely see the trauma now. No, you could definitely see the trauma that Shinji Sasaki's immediate family, including MMA great Megumi Fuji, have to deal with now because of that knockout loss. But still, though, that's beside the point. What was basically the point, and I'm pretty sure y'all might have heard this on the broadcast, but when Damian beat down Brown, who was on commentary with Michael Schiavello, basically said how much he enjoyed that finish and also how much he wants to come back into the fold, maybe face off against Patricky Pitbull Fury in a welterweight fight at 170 pounds or 77 kilos. It kind of makes me think between that particular fight, Brown versus Fury, happening, and Yota Rice Hayashi getting that knockout win, do you think that might have sown the seeds for RIZIN to have a 170-pound weight division?
I hope so. It seems like the kindling is on the fire right now, and they got a lot of options, and I hope they explore them. There's just so many good fights to make at 170 that won't interfere with the heavyweight division and won't interfere with the lighter weight divisions. It's cool, and as these older legends and fighters get older, they don't want to cut as much weight. So guys will be moving up from 155 to 170. So let them fight.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, to be honest, it would make sense to have that particular fight that I mentioned, Damian Brown versus Patricky Pitbull, happen because, if y'all seen the YouTube videos, well, actually, no, not the YouTube videos, but the Instagram videos that Damian has been posting of his work in exhibition grappling competitions, basically working on the mat, teaching the next generation how to fight. You gotta admit that the dude, yeah, he still got it, but more like he never lost it. I mean, it's not out of a lack of trying of him wanting to come back. It's the fact that he actually wants to continue to put in work. I mean, but still, though, do you think that Damian would have been, more preoccupied, more busy had RIZIN already put together a welterweight division?
It's tough to say, right? Like it depends what he wants, and it depends what the promotion wants. And when you're pseudo retired, you have to fight only fights that make sense. So maybe the fights that make sense weren't possible with other guys locked up in contracts with other promotions and such. So I think that the timing is right. It seems like they're both free. They both want to fight. The division is back, at least with this match. So if the fans want it, then give the fans what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And Yukiko, you can go ahead and answer this as well. But still, though, when it comes down to this particular fight that just happened, I mean, and you might have seen it live and probably had to shield your eyes yourself, but when Shinji Sasaki got knocked out by Yota Hayashi, what was your overall reaction?
So I understand the brutality, but I actually had a kind of a different take. When you grow up with two parents that are fighters, and you're a fighter, right?
Mm,
And you
I'm
bring
not.
a child, huh?
I mean, I'm not a fighter. I just watch fighters.
No, not you. Not you.
Hey.
Hayashi and his daughter and his wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you raise a child in that environment, and you bring a child to a fight, I understand that people had a hard time seeing the child, but I also saw it from a different standpoint. They know what they're potentially doing by bringing the child to the fight, right? The child understands her whole life what her dad does, right? And what her mom does, and what she is actually a very good fighter, right? Herself, the child. So when I saw her, I saw a certain strength within her to understand that this is what we do. This is who we are. This is our family. And she didn't shield her eyes. She clapped for the winner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was not as taken aback by the scene, even though it's pretty brutal. I mean, and especially that being in the different rule set, right? That kind of stuff happens. She knows. So I wasn't so much like, oh God, that's so awful. Yes, it was, but she also came to the fight knowing this could happen, and that she's also a fighter, this little girl, right? And so it was hard to watch. It was a great finish, but it was hard to watch, being that he's loved and he's older, and that's hard. But that's what we signed up for, and that's what he signed up for. So I also watch bare knuckles. So it's like that's what you sign up for. It's hard, but it's also he understands it's part of the fight that he took.
Yeah, and again, it is physically grueling and physically traumatizing for that little girl to just basically sit there and watch her dad get his ass kicked and kneed in the face in such a brutal fashion. But still, though, it basically makes me think that, watching that or watching highlights of that, it kind of felt like that one scene from Rocky Four. You know the one I'm talking about, the one where Ivan Drago faced off against Apollo Creed, and the manager or at least the trainer was yelling, "Throw the damn towel!" I mean, it
Yeah.
kind
From the West perspective, yeah, it was brutal, right? Like, why'd you bring your kid to the fight? Like, they're gonna need to go see a psychologist. But I looked at the kid's reaction, and she was very stoic, and she didn't overreact. So she
She
had a
understood. She understood. I had respect for that. And I might sound like, and you're saying it's correct, Taylor, from the Western perspective, right? But that's also how they do stuff like that in JMMA, right? It's brutal. And she was very poised.
Yeah, it was impressive, right? She showed her spirit. She showed that she's a warrior herself, and we'll probably see her in the RIZIN cage in 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So
Definitely. She's being brought up that way, right? They said she was already quite good for being 10 years old.
hmm
Understood. But other than that, I guess we can officially move on from talking about that traumatic. Well, one more thing I can basically ask. With the fact that, Shinji Sasaki took that knockout, you know, maybe it's about time for him to go ahead and hang the gloves up. What do y'all think?
yeah, that his performance wasn't impressive enough to continue. And they're mentioning on the broadcast that he's had bones in his face broken multiple times. So please, for your family and your legacy, so to speak, that should be the last fight.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I'm surprised he didn't take a beatdown like Evangelista Cyborg Santos did against Michael Venom Page. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dang, like a cannonball went into his skull, right? He had a hole in his head.
No, actually, that knee that MVP basically gave to Evangelista, it felt like a cannonball going into his skull, and even more worse off because of how Michael Venom Page tossed that damn Pokeball at him.
Yeah, that was some lore in the MMA world, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm sorry, Yukiko, if you're basically hearing us just talk about this ad nauseum.
I don't care.
Understood, understood. So yeah, we can go ahead and move on to our final main card fight to talk about, at least from the MMA perspective. You know, Kyohei Phoenix Takagi. Kyohei Takagi, aka Hinotori, knocked out former Korean military service member Jae-Hoon Lee. Jae-Hoon Lee got knocked out. Well, actually, Jae-Hoon Lee talked a lot of shit. Basically, going into this fight, he was supposed to face off against Tatsuki Shinotsuka. Shinotsuka basically got a little neck spasm injury, but he looked well and rested and ready to go. I think it was during the intermission when he was putting over himself trying to talk to Nobuyuki Sakakibara, the boss, the big head honcho at RIZIN. But still, though, point is, Hinotori, with a second consecutive finish victory in RIZIN, oh, by the way, knocked out Jae-Hoon Lee, punches from the back mount. And the result happened at 4 minutes 25 seconds of round number 3. But with the win, Takagi pretty much proved that he was just basically a force to be reckoned with down the line, a future name to look at in RIZIN. I mean, all I'm just basically asking is, do you think that it's going to be key for the flyweight division to come? Because, of course, Hinotori is in that shark-infested water known as the 125-pound division in RIZIN. So you have to think whatever's next for him could be something that could be what's next for the flyweight division. Am I right?
Yeah, he's 2-0 in RIZIN now, so he's a pretty good prospect, right?
Mm-hmm. I
I'm just
mean,
checking his fights. Yeah, I mean, I hope they keep fighting him every couple months, give him a little bit of development time. My only critique was like I know it was the end of the fight and he had a dominant position, but the ground and pound strikes were pretty weak. So I hope that he trains his ground and pound harder moving forward, so he's more explosive with his strikes on the ground. But other than that, I'd like to see him fight again. He did very good.
oh yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight again too. Yukiko, what say you when it comes down to this fight? Do you think that?
Anytime you have a walkout like that and you win, I'm a fan. I don't care. You're talking about Hinitori, right? Hinitori
Yeah,
versus
Hinotori.
yeah. anytime you have a walkout like that and then you win, that's JMMA, that's RIZIN, that's fan friendly, right? And he's just such a great person, great fighter to watch, especially with that spirit carried all the way from the walkout to the win.
And you know what about the entrance that he had? Last time out, it was Tokyo Disneyland. This time, this time out, it was Super Mario Brothers, and I'm pretty sure it dates you, Yukiko, more than anything else because I'm pretty sure you probably wanted to try out for a few vocal roles for the Super Mario Brothers games back in the day, didn't you?
Well, I didn't try out for those, but what was even what a lot of people loved was that his corner kept the costumes on the whole fight. Right? So
Oh
that was
yeah.
the best. That had so many reposts and stuff like that because um you know you just don't get that in the American or European promotions. So you have to it's awful if they do that and they lose, right? So I'm glad he won.
Well, here's the thing, though. You get that in promotions like KSW, where you have a guy like Arthur Spilka coming out of a damn hypo chamber, and then he ends up basically showing a lackluster performance. You also get that in a promotion like BKFC, who just recently had Austin No Doubt Trout parody his best Apollo Creed, and he got knocked out.
Yeah, I saw that. I do watch PK. If they do have it, but there's just something. I'm sorry because I'm very biased. There's just something about the Japanese way of doing things. I'm sorry.
Is
So
it?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. The Japanese are definitely the masters of the walkout.
It's almost like it's badass and also childlike at the same time, right? See, it's like a happy thing. You're
mhm.
not they're not trying too hard and it works, right? Some of the some of the ones we see in even the other promotions, sometimes it falls flat, right? It's trying a little too hard. And then like you said, when you lose, you're kind of like, oh, that was a waste, right?
Exactly. Especially if you spent all that damn time on choreography, but not enough time on the actual fight presentation.
But then you
Yeah,
have a guy like Genki Sudo, right?
Yes.
He's
I,
infamous for his walkouts, and he'd still go out there and kick ass. So it can be done.
hmm I mean, his two biggest examples, and I hate to basically break off the beaten path a bit, but we are over an hour and a half in, so why the hell not? His two biggest examples of big time fight entrances were against American fighters. He had the Wild Thing entrance back in 2003 when he defeated Eric Butterbean Esch, and he had the grand finale. I think it was like a Spirited Away type of entrance when he faced off against Damasio Page before anybody even knew who he was fighting in the WEC. So, it was incredible. It's incredible to see that the spirit of Genki Sudo is alive and well in big 2026, especially when it comes down to fighters like Hinotori. But now we can go ahead and just basically ask about this. At now 3-2 overall, you know, it's not the fact of what's next for Jae Hoon Lee. It's, do you potentially give him that match against Tatsuki Shinotsuka after all the shit that he's talked? Taylor, you go first.
If the fans want it, maybe, but like his performance was pretty mid, you know? I'm almost like, go back to Korea and go fight in Road FC or something, and you you talk trash and you didn't back it up, so he lost steam now.
Okay, and Yukiko, what say you?
I'm sorry, I was muted to have me laughing so hard, Taylor. Just go back to Korea. Just go back to where you came from. We don't need you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I
Oh
was
yeah,
thinking like a Japanese person though, not a white guy.
Exactly. That's why it was funnier. And
yeah.
not only that, a guy in Canada.
Of course, of course. But still, though, I guess now we could just basically say, well, actually, yeah, I'm all in agreement. Jae-Hoon Lee should just take his ass back to South Korea and just fight on a Road FC undercard or something because, like I said, yeah, maybe a former Korean military service member, but he shouldn't have been demanding jack shit when it comes down to a fight. It's like just seeing that post that he put out on Facebook before the fight saying, "Oh, let's have a good game. Well, let's have a good fight." I'm paraphrasing. Let's have a good fight and matchup and blah blah blah. Totski's running and dodging me, but still dumb. You've only fought 5 fights. You ain't got no fucking room to basically say who dodging who. So yeah, because of that loss, again, Jae-Hoon Lee should take his ass back to Road FC and actually learn how to put himself over in other ways other than just shit talking. You know, that's what I think. But still, though, I guess we all in agreement. We can officially, well, I wouldn't say officially move on from this fight card because we still got a couple of prelim fights and a kickboxing fight to talk about. But still, though, any final thoughts on this fight before we do move on?
No,
Ah,
Okay, understood. Well, before we can go ahead and summarize what we all witnessed over the weekend, I mean, let's go ahead and run down the prelim fights, the rest of the prelim fights, mind you, and the kickboxing bout. In the amateur flyweight bout at 126 pounds, 57 kilos, Jin Tanaka defeated Kentaro Tomita via unanimous decision. At 157 pounds, 71 kilos, Takuya Shivayev Shibamura defeated Taisei Mitsusugi, aka Benjamin Mitsusugi, via split decision. In the co-featured prelim fight, Shota Nagano defeated Shuichi T800 Kanda, who had the Terminator theme as well, you know, via unanimous decision. And in the first bout on the main card, which was kickboxing, Kotaro Shiba defeated Haruto via unanimous decision. Only thing is, Haruto missed weight by about 2 pounds. He weighed in at 56.1 kilos, which is around 128 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. She became in at 123 on the button, 54 and a half kilos. So, yeah, Haruto missed some considerable weight. But still, though, point of the matter is, out of all 4 of the fights that I just mentioned, I mean, the 3 prelims plus the 1 kickboxing fight that I really did not care about until the weigh-ins were over. I mean, what really caught your eye about those 4 fights that I mentioned? Taylor, you go first if you've seen the prelims.
I did see the prelims. Feel like everyone that was supposed to win won. Their prospect building and makes sense. I got one comment to make about amateur fights in RIZIN. I wouldn't mind if they had it and it was untelevised and it was just a cute thing for the crowd. But
Mm-hmm.
RIZIN being one of the premier leagues in the world, I expect, professional level fights. And the first fight coming up is this amateur fight. They're wearing all this gear, they have headgear on it. It just kind of cheapens the brand for me. And a lot of Westerners. And the same thing when I've seen this in PFL and other brands that are supposed to be top tier. You never see this in UFC. You never see this in other shows. So I don't care for the amateur fights, but the professional fights were all very good fights, and I enjoyed them for what they were.
I mean, come to think of it, I don't know if you fought amateur ranks as well up in Canada, but still, though, if you did, you would never put on a pro-am card, were you?
Yeah, like I did have some amateur fights, and it was completely separate from professional fighting, and I think that's how it should be. And like, it doesn't make sense if, oh, the UFC is in Toronto and they lost a couple fights, so hey, let's put the best amateurs on the prelim, and but we're gonna broadcast on TV. It's cute and everything, and you get to see like a high level teenagers fight each other, but I don't know. It just threw me off, to be honest.
I mean, to be honest, you might not know one of those two stars. I mean, I'm not going to basically say one of those two stars could be possibly working at a 7-Eleven or something, but, one of those two fighters from the amateur bout probably might go on to be a future star down the line. Maybe not in mixed martial arts, maybe not in kickboxing, but who the hell knows?
Hmm.
Still, though, I get what you mean. The PFL's doing this. Well, actually, the PFL does this at times. Bellator did it. Legacy in my neck of the woods of Houston did it, as well as Fury FC. I mean, they sometimes match amateur and pro cards together. I mean, nobody basically has done this more often than not than the folks out in Kansas City, Missouri, over at, like, I think, Fighting Alliance Championship, or FAC for short. But still, though, I get what you mean. Amateur fights and professional fights, and this can also go toward promotions like Tough Enough out in Las Vegas, who are the oldest pro-am MMA promotion in the world at like 33 years. But still, though, point is, when it comes down to pro-am fights on the same card, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think that those amateur fights should be anywhere near a pro card. And I think that it would be better if those fights were given its own showcase, in like a separate building or something. Now,
Yeah.
now, Yukiko, I know that you've been awfully silent on this, but do you want to chime in on the prelims and the kickboxing bouts?
Well, at least they're on YouTube, and they're not on the pay-per-view. I mean, not the pay-per-view, the channel. They're on YouTube. I think that, yeah, the headgear thing is a bit much. I'm sorry. And I thought Shiev, right? I thought he was very boring. Yeah, the only thing that got me excited, because whenever I watch JMMA, I'm like, when Benjamin did the soccer kick, I have on my notes, soccer kick. That's like got me going for the card. And then I thought that the Kanda Nagano, they had some good scrambles. Okay. That was some good scrambling. Okay. But yeah, at least they're not, they're before the main walkout and the main intro. So at least they're before all that. Right. So they know their place. Right. Um, and I wasn't that impressed by the Shiba Haruto fight either. Plus, he missed weight, right? So, yeah, I don't know how many people watch them. Of course, I watch every single thing, but at least they are mostly like a YouTube kind of thing, right? And then they have the opening ceremony, right? And all the lights and all that. So, yeah, but I agree that you're like, what am I watching? what is this?
Yeah.
And the big old gloves, right? So yeah, it is a bit much. So, but and
Well,
then yeah,
well, traditionally the fights before the main card are supposed to sell and get you, if you're on the fence, to go buy the pay-per-view. So like, if they want people from the West to buy the pay-per-view, like, I just don't understand why there's teenagers in full gear and headgear fighting. Like, if I didn't love RIZIN, I'd be like, click, I'm moving on, you know?
yeah, it's all good. I get it, but that just makes you like, okay, when's the real show gonna start? But you hope for a good moment. You at least hope, right? Because what was this card or the card before? I think the card before, right? Or there was one, but there was all finishes on the prelim thing. It was I think it was the last card before this one. It was all finishes, so that was kind of fun. So it can happen if they're all
I'm
finished.
I'm cool with the like. There's a spot for the preliminary card, of course. I'm cool if it's all professional fighters and they're not good enough for the pay-per-view and they're building up and they need exposure. I love that. I'm in a similar position. I'm only critiquing the very first fight.
Oh, I'm not going to be able to get that phrase out of my head when you said headgear. Sorry, Taylor.
And I
Sorry.
mean, to think of it, the last fight card that happened before this, which was RIZIN Landmark 14 in Sendai, only 2 of the 3 prelim fights ended in finishes. So, you're right on the head about that, at least.
Yeah, or was it the fight before? I just remember there was like a lot of finishes. I think it's the one before. There was a lot of finishes in the beginning, right? And you're like, yes. So it got you kind of in the mood, but that's not going to happen very often, but it did on that one.
Exactly. But now that we basically talked ad nauseum about this, before we move on to previewing briefly RIZIN 54 and talking about some news on Taylor's end, I just basically want to ask, what was your overall fight of the night? What was your overall performance of the night? Yukiko, you go first.
Of course, I have to love Oshima, right? I have to love her. And the finish and the joy and her twin daughters in the cage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kawaii, totemo kawaii desu ne, right? And then I like the OGs, right? I like Shoji getting a win at home. I love Suzuki making a comeback, right? And of course, I really like seeing Johnny Cage win. That was awesome. And Tori, I like that. And I liked. I don't have a fight of the night, obviously. So,
Understood. You basically all thought they had some stellar performances, right?
well, it's just fun. I just love MMA so much, and I love RIZIN so much. I'm gonna find gems in certain things that people might be overly critical, right? And seeing Dalbeck win was great because he's just great, right? He's just great. He's strong. So, kind of watering down my choices because there's so many, but I just enjoy their events.
Understood. Taylor, what say you? Taylor, what say you? What was your overall fight of the night? What was your performance of the night?
I think performance of the night was Tylenov. I really loved his fight and controlling the distance, his striking, his shoot boxing skills, everything. He's complete. He's a big prospect. And I really like Danny Sabatello getting the knockout finish, finally, getting nudged from Sakaki Kabara-san and not just holding people on the ground for 15 minutes, boring us. So those were probably the top 2. Johnny Case, nice to see him back. Nice to see him get a win. And yeah, I can't wait for every RIZIN once a month for the rest of the year. It's going to be epic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is going to be epic. And I will basically run that down real quick after we're done here talking about this. But still, though, when it comes down to my fight of the night, most definitely I would have to say it would be, and you have to basically apologize to me. I would basically have to apologize to you because, I only seen like bits and pieces of the rebroadcast. But still, the point of the matter is, from what I saw, my fight of the night was definitely Johnny Case over Tenya Yoshimura, especially considering that he got to finish. But it would also be, Danny Sabatello getting the win over Kashimura. If Jay Wolf won here, he would probably say, "Yo, I got to give a shout out to my American fighters. Got to rep the red, white, and blue." But still, though, it's because of the fact that they both equally came from. Well, actually, no. In the case of Sabatello, he needed a finish. In the case of Johnny Case, he needed a statement win. But still, though, point of the matter is those two are tied for my fight of the night. Now, as far as my performance of the night goes, it's not, unfortunately, the knockout win that Yota Hayashi had over, Shinji Sasaki. It would have to go to Eurespect Tyonov over Shinobu Ota. I mean, he basically had that former Olympic medalist dead to rights when it came down to that knockout win that he had. I mean, what a way to make your RIZIN debut just off of that finish alone, I mean, tell you, basically my fights of the night: Sabatello over Kashimura, Johnny Case over Tenya Yoshimura. Performance of the night: Tyonov versus Alta. Now, as far as the next event goes, we would love to have basically wished it was Super RIZIN 5, considering that September is not that far off compared to this particular event that we just talked about. But unfortunately, maybe fortunately or unfortunately, RIZIN got to get right back on the ball and do another event in about 3 weeks' time. That would be RIZIN 54 from the Toyota Arena in Koto, Tokyo, Japan. That event will be about 6 days. No, actually, that event will be about 20 days away from this recording right now. It'll kick off at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on April. No, wait. See, I'm fucking up the damn date. I'm fucking up the damn month. I'm having serious brain farts here, but still, though, point of the matter: RIZIN 54 in 3 weeks' time, August 11th. That is on a Thursday. Oh, by the way, sports holiday in Japan. What's a little late night RIZIN gonna do other than hurt people's work schedules? But still, though, midnight Eastern, August 11th, 9 p.m. Pacific, August 10th. The event will be live on RIZIN.TV, and the match card you're gonna definitely look forward to. We already talked about Kate Lotus Oyama versus Noelle Narita, but the other 8 fights on the card are definitely going to be one to watch as well. You got Kazumasa Maijima versus Koichi Takeda. You got Joe Hiromoto versus Ryoma Jolly Shishimoto. You got Naoki the Joker Tanaka versus Isa Hosokawa, who will be making his mixed martial arts debut. You got Arata Mizuno versus underdog Kai Wen Lee. You got Yuki Ito versus Alibek Gazmatov. Joji Goto, a.k.a. Mr. Twister, taking on Azizbek the Gladiator Timirov, whose brother Ramazan Bek Timirov is currently in the UFC. You got Shoko Matsumitsu Sato, whose most recent loss was to Danny Sabatello. He will be facing off against former Bellator world champion and 2-fight UFC veteran Patrick Patchy No Love Mix, whose return to RIZIN was spoiled the last time out by way of a knockout loss to Kiyoma Akimoto. And speaking of Kiyoma Akimoto, he'll be in the main event in possibly one of his biggest fights to date, where if he beats former 2-time RIZIN featherweight world champion Kleber Koike, he could be the next in line for a title shot, be it against either AJ McKee or Rajabali Shabdalayev. So, out of those fights that I just talked about previewing this RIZIN 54 event, and oh, by the way, Card subject to change, and more fights will be announced in the next 3 weeks to fill out the fight card. But still, though, when it comes down to the fights that I just mentioned, which one are y'all looking forward to the most? Yukiko, you first, then Taylor.
The main event.
As in Koike versus Akimoto?
Absolutely. I'm fired up, stoked up about this. I love Akimoto. This is a good challenge for him. He's such a superstar. He's young. This is a big step up, and it's a big um, spotlight on him. I love it. I love this fight. I hope it's violent.
I see, I see. Taylor, what say you? What fight is basically keeping you interested to stay up half past your bedtime on August 10th?
I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I'm gonna go Shoko Sato versus Patchy Mix. I love the matchmaking here. Patchy Mix needs a win. Shoko Sato is just a beast. He's got amazing submission skills. Same with Patchy, so I can't wait to watch that one.
Well, I guess I would probably be in agreement with both of you and say that Koike versus Akimoto and Sato versus Mix are definitely going to be fights a lot of fans are going to be looking forward to. But if I were to say a third fight that people should be looking out for, it's, I would say, Joji Goto versus Aziz Timarov, especially considering the fact that you got Goto, a former title challenger for the RIZIN Bantamweight belt. He's fresh off a loss to Danny Sabatello. He basically came into that fight with Sabatello on a 4-fight winning streak. 3 of those wins, oh, by the way, were by finish. Well, actually, no. 4-fight winning streak, 2 via finish. But still, though, he will face off against a ready and set Timarov, who all of his wins, all 6 in total, are by way of knockout. So, it should be a real fun fight to see on a fight card that should be full of exciting action. Now, when it comes down to that particular event, like Taylor opined, and I guess now we can officially discuss this, RIZIN has an event coming up just about every month for the rest of the year. I mean, yeah, they started off in the spring, but they are really closing out this year strong because you got RIZIN 54 coming up in Tokyo at the Toyota Arena in Tokyo. Not to be confused with the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California, and damn sure not to be confused with Toyota Center in downtown Houston, Texas. But still, though, RIZIN 54 coming up on a weekday. That is on not Thursday, April 11th, but Tuesday, April. No. See, again, I'm messing it. I'm fucking up here. It's Tuesday, August 11th. Late night, Monday night, August 10th. Oh, by the way. So, for those of y'all who basically don't have work, be sure to make sure to have caffeine at the ready. But, yeah. Tuesday, August 11th is RIZIN 54. Don't forget that. If you really want to stay up and watch it or ignore the local news just to watch it, because the prelims are going to be on right around that time at 11 p.m. Eastern. But then after that, you got Super RIZIN 5 from the Kyocera Dome in Osaka, Japan. That will also be a weeknight event, Thursday, September 10th. Live on RIZIN.tv. That event will be kicking off at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, with prelims taking place at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Pacific, and that will probably coincide with a lot of fans wanting to watch some football of the gridiron variety. But then you got RIZIN Landmark 16 from Happiness Arena in Nagasaki, Japan, Saturday, October 3rd. You got RIZIN Landmark 17 in Funabashi, Chiba, Japan, Lala Arena, Tokyo Bay, That'll be 3 days after I turn 34 years old, which is November 8th for the uninhibited. And it would be a really fun late birthday present for me just to watch that show. And then, of course, you got the big one, the New Year's Eve show, RIZIN New Year's Eve live event on the morning of New Year's Eve, December 31st, from the Valentine Dome in Nagoya, Aichi, Japan. So I guess I can officially say that the world of the superior rule set never stops. But Taylor and Yukiko, when it comes down to RIZIN's future event schedule, do you think that there should be more or less of this? Especially considering the fact that the next event we got is in 3 weeks' time.
I think it's about right because it gives you time to build an excitement. I think more would be bad. It would start to diminish the quality, and less would be bad. I think once a month is great, right? Especially because they're just such weird time zones for me, right? I have to like either not sleep or take the day off, or I haven't done this before, but I work remotely and I have watched full sporting events on my tablet when I'm supposed to be working on silent. But I do have the subscription, but there's nothing like watching it live, right? You have to watch. I have to watch it live to try, or you just stay off X or the media, right? So I think it's the right amount once a month because it gives a chance to build, right? It gives value to, because some other promotions, they're too often, right? It waters down the promotion, it waters down the events, and they make such a effort in making things festive and, just having a pop to it that I think it's the right amount of fights. Cards, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I can understand that. Taylor, what say you?
I agree with everything that was just said. Too many fights and the product becomes watered down. Too little fights and we lose interest. So if we could keep this once a month pace, I love it. I'm gonna watch every single one.
Yeah, I agree. Because you don't want to end up like the UFC and basically oversaturate your product with events just about every damn weekend. But in the case of what they're doing now with the PFL, you don't want to run the risk of not being able to promote your shows well, and people basically having to find out on a fucking YouTube video how to watch your show.
Yeah, excuse my French, but that shit is fucking ridiculous. I don't even know how to watch PFL.
I mean, I can understand that. I mean, you live in Canada. Didn't they used to air like on TSN Direct or something?
It was on TV at a certain point, and now I have no idea literally how you watch it. So I don't watch it unless someone I know is fighting on it, and then I'll let's say find a way to watch it. You know?
Yeah, of course.
I allegedly watch it the way I'm not supposed to. I watch a lot of things allegedly the way I'm not supposed to. I do actually for someone. I do pay too much for this and that, but I try to minimize it. But I allegedly watch them on a way that is allegedly available to me.
I mean, come to think of it, how the hell do you think I've been able to be a fan of fight sports for 15 years? I mean, I can understand that as well, but still, it's like we can all agree with the right amount of fights for RIZIN is key, and the right amount of fight shows is basically key for them to survive, especially considering the fact that, again, if they didn't have this number of shows, and I think from the looks of it, and I am again looking down the list, they had a show in March, April, May, June. Then this month, which is July, then they're going to have August, September, October, November, December. So, yeah, basically 10 months out the year, they've been doing these shows. No event in January, no event in February. I think a 10-month schedule suits them well, but still, them, you know, fans are gonna want to demand more. But you know, if they want, I mean, let's just say this: if RIZIN were to do more, they would kill their product off. So I think this is the right amount of. I mean, I think this rising season for them is just pretty much all that's needed for them to get as much of what they can in as little amount of time as possible. I mean, you can take your January and your February off, but March to December is definitely rising season.
Yeah, forget Riyadh season. All we care about is Ryzen season over here.
Yes, exactly. Yukiko, anything else you would want to say about this before we, well, not only close things out, but talk about Taylor's career trajectory?
You're asking Taylor to talk about Taylor, right? I don't. Taylor,
Well,
you know about. Huh?
well, Yukiko, it's like we basically opined. We were just talking about, do you think that an event every month for the last 10 months is good for Ryzen's future?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm, but I'm a little hardcore, so um, but I
Understood.
think so. No, it's perfect because there's something to look forward to. And then when they put on some, spectacular event in September, it's like raises the ante, right? So you're like, okay. So I think that they do, from someone who has a marketing background and been having to market myself and all that. I think that from a marketing standpoint, I think they do an excellent job.
Oh, yeah, of course. They've been doing an excellent job for about 10 of the last 11 years. So, you
I
know,
just was late to the party, but I'm here now.
it's okay. I mean, it doesn't matter how late you are to the party as long as you're dancing with everybody else.
Yeah, and when I like something, I'm gung ho. So
Oh, yeah, of course. And now, before we go ahead and close the show out by giving out, our respective shout outs and, Pyro and Ballyhoo, we can go ahead and, acknowledge the fact that Taylor Lang, you got a career trajectory announcement to put over, don't you?
I do, yes. I finally have a good management in Japan now. And within a week of them shopping me around, I have a big fight coming up at the end of the year. So there's no opponent announced yet, so I don't know how much I can talk about it, but a big step up in competition and trajectory heading towards what I want to do. And
I
what
mean,
I want to do is get a shot in Rising.
you know what?
that's
I can,
awesome.
yeah, that is awesome. Very awesome. And you know what? When it comes down to people asking you, oh, who you're fighting next, just remember the three most important words when it comes down to contract negotiations. Nope, don't ask.
Pretty much, right? I like to save a little bit of suspense. And then you never know who I get. It might be a shocking name. We'll see.
Yeah, of course.
I
But
feel very lucky to be on this, like, branching out from because I started watching the UFC first. That's what my friend turned me on to. So I feel very fortunate, Taylor, to meet you at this time when I'm such a big fan of the sport in that region of the world, and to see you through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been amazing to meet you as well. You know, you're a true fan and appreciate your background and everything that your family's done. And yeah, it's just amazing that this niche martial arts sport brings us all together from all over the world. It's incredible.
Wonderful.
I mean, yeah, where else are you going to have a Canadian from Barrie, Barrie, by the way, Ontario, Canada, a former certified actress from New York. I'm just guesstimating here. I know. I don't
No, I'm
think.
not. I'm actually in the East Coast, but I was born in California, so I'm West Coast. I am
Oh,
a West Coast. I am West Coast stuck on the East Coast. I do not like the humidity. I am a Californian at heart. At heart, I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay, by the way.
my apologies then. My apologies. But still, though, where else are you going to have a Canadian who actually fights, a West Coast to East Coast transplant, and somebody like me who's from Southeast Texas just basically talk about how beautiful this fight game can be? I mean, to be honest, I would like to also say shout out to Jimmy Main, aka Ozeki Jim from the Yamato Damashi podcast, for giving Taylor the opportunity, and hopefully it'll lead to more opportunities for champions to come. As you know, the Outlast approach says, we create opportunities for champions. So, big shout out to Outlast Athlete Management and Jimmy Main for signing Taylor Lang to a big deal, and hopefully it'll lead to some very, very big things to come. Not just for you, but for really all of us, to be honest. but
Definitely.
but still, though, now that we've pretty much gotten everything out the way, let's go ahead and put the bow on this. Yukiko, you got shout outs? You got any way to basically put yourself over?
Nope. People know I kind of keep a low profile. I'm all about supporting others, so I'm happy to support others and just keep putting stuff out there for people to get excited about and show my enthusiasm.
Okay, any way that people can get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on X under what am I named? Azure Bluesy, right? I don't really do much on Insta. I would just say X. Yep.
I understand. And you're also, I mean, I'm not going to basically bash, I mean, I'm not going to basically put over your Instagram or YouTube pages because those are pretty much personal, right?
Yeah. Well, X is where I can kind of, I'm a sports fan overall. So all kinds of sports, basketball, combat sports, boxing, some football, some other football with the ball in your, the round ball. Okay.
I think
So,
soccer.
yeah. Yeah. But that's kind of where I have my international and multicultural connections. So that's where I like it the most because you can, literally have a conversation in a stream, which I love, and, share things very easily with lots of people.
Oh, yeah, of course, of course. So we got that down. And Taylor, now that you are newly aligned with Outlast Athlete Management, is there any shout outs? Is there any way you can shamelessly put yourself over?
Yeah, you can follow me on all social media. It's just at Taylor Lang MMA. I'm on X, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. Mostly just hardcore fans following me. And I'm very easy to approach. I love talking with the fans, mostly in my DMs. So yeah, give me a follow, send me a message, and let's connect and let's keep pushing JMMA and RIZIN. It's the best.
Yes, of course, of course. And I'm sorry if you can't see me right now, but still, though, if you're watching, there's the QR code. If you're listening, all of the links for all of my platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can give me money on Cash App. I mean, all of those links will be available on the description of this episode if you are listening to this. And especially if you're watching through StreamYard on both of my YouTube channels, well, actually, my personal YouTube channel as well as the Focus Fights YouTube channel, you can check out more through there. Or, like I said, you can scan that QR code if you're watching right now. And if you're listening, again, just check out the damn description. I would love to basically hear from y'all from many of the platforms, or if you like what I heard, just send me some dinero because I probably need some cash right now. We all do, to be honest. But still, though, aside from that, you can check out my good friend Jay Wolf, of course. He basically is a part of the Todd Atkins Network, if I'm not mistaken. And you can check out Todd Atkins over on his platforms as well. You know, if he were to put over the RIZIN report, you can check it out on the Todd Atkins Show through Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also check out Yamato Damashi, the Yamato Damashi podcast with Ensign Inouye and Jimmy Main of, again, I can't believe I'm saying this for a third time, Outlast Athlete Management. You know, he is the head honcho behind that. And again, big shout out to Combat Sports Today for a lot of the news that I have been reading about, especially when it comes down to potential future fights between Paul Hughes and Shinya Aoki. I mean, I don't think that fight's going to happen, but if it did, if it has some legs, I'm pretty sure that fight will happen. I just think that the Danny Sabatello versus Mitch McKee fight would happen a lot more frequently than the Paul Hughes versus Shinya Aoki fight will, but who knows? But still, though, point of the matter is, if you basically want to see more or hear more from my good partner Andrew Benjamin, you can be sure to check out all his hijinks and his mayhem over on the because he will have all his, you know, profile and all his ballyhoo over on that platform as well. You can check him out on Twitter under both his show tag and his regular tag. And also, just wanted to remind y'all that I have opened up a new Focus Fights Discord server as well. So, you know, if you check the link in the description on the audio version only, you can check out all of what we have in store over in the Discord server link. But other than that, that's about it from us for now. We ended surprisingly a little bit early for a change, but we hope y'all enjoyed what RIZIN Landmark 15 had in store, and we hope you all enjoy us. Well, I don't know if y'all will be free and available to do this again in a few weeks because the next show ain't until 3 weeks from now. Less than 3 weeks at that, from the time we're doing this. So, you know, it would be fun for y'all to join me, but, you know, if not, I appreciate y'all helping me out for these 2 episodes. It was really fun to basically have y'all here.
No problem.
It was
Okay.
really fun, guys. Thank you for the opportunity and meeting you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, other than that, for Yukiko Azure Blue, and for Taylor Clubber Lang, I have been the Chillmeister J. Christian Gary saying, peace, my peoples, in one Lord world. Protect yourself at all times. Keep fighting because, as it's pretty damn obvious from what Taylor has been doing, you never know who might hear your story. And again, if you want to check out more of what the RIZIN Fighting Federation has in store, you can check out the episode description. But again, never burn bridges because you just never know who might be waiting for you on the other side, especially if you're about to make history with them, just like what RIZIN and the PFL are planning to do this September. Other than that, I and we are done. Deuces. Until next time, y'all.
Peace.
Later.